with an aroma can do. Brighter day for me and you. The best part of waking up is in your cup.
Season. Every time you purchase a 12-ounce SnortBucks coffee, a portion of the proceeds will be given to the Penny Foundation, the world's premier charity dedicated to helping down on their luck content creators pay their daily bills.
I need that money. I really do. I need that money. I need my bills, the electric bill, the internet bill.
So stop by your local SnortBucks today and help send some Penny their way.
It's nothing like opening the coffee shop up early, because oh boy, we got a lot to do, and let's go ahead and get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, good morning, good evening. This is DSP News, the unreliable ones. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the newsroom and welcome to the Galtopia News Network, your unreliable source for DSP News. This is the Snort Report, brought to you by SnortBucks Coffee, the best coffee company / beverage company. Let's go. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys are doing well. And hope everything's well, you know, the usual. Okay, so as you guys are getting ready to line up and place your orders and whatnot, let's go ahead and tell you guys what's on the menu, essentially, for your viewing / listening entertainment, if you will, as you guys start your day, go through your day, or end your day. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here with two videos that will make up our broadcast, both of them brought to us by Burnell. First one, DSP. $347 is almost nothing. I don't care about the legacy and lying about YouTube earnings. This is from January 4th of 2020. Second video is DSP money decisions, guessing Fighter 5, and money in Patreon is significant, and debunking the drunken peasants. This right here is from January 5th of 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, let's not go ahead and delay this any longer than it needs to be. Let's go ahead and get into the broadcast proper, and I will see you guys literally in just a second. I'm gonna get all these orders together and shit, and I gotta go ahead and make sure that my suit is still pressed, and it's so much work! Oh, but I love it! See you guys in a minute.
Play the game!
Sound good?
Alright, sounds good to me.
Frog and shoes, just switch my...
Damn. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry, I forgot something. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Snort Report, and this is DSP News. Always late, never breaking. Unreliable coverage that you can't count on. Oh, yes! A GTG, Networking Productions. You guys all know the slogan. I don't smell no bacon cooking yet. I don't even see my coffee in front of me just yet. And you know that's not allowed to happen. Or that can't happen if we're going to go ahead and progress forward. So it's time to watch me work. Actually, it might not be too bad to actually place it right here. I'll have to think about that. but it's hard to break habits. Ladies and gentlemen, we're here with the first video that's going to make up our broadcast, brought to us by Burnell, DSP. $347 is almost nothing. I don't care about the legacy and lying about YouTube earnings. This is from January 4th of 2020. Here we go. Sloppy. I'm so sloppy. Sorry, I'm out of practice.
Got to the point where YouTube revenue doesn't matter anymore. I can only imagine YouTube is a nice bonus rather than a significant portion of your income. I mean, that's pretty much what it's become. If I made no money on YouTube every month, would it hurt me? Yeah, it would, being very honest. But would it be the end of the world? Probably not. I probably would it would be a little tough, but I'd probably still be able to make ends meet even without the little bit of money that I make on YouTube every month. You know, like I said, in general, Twitch has almost 100% become my major income. Patreon's almost nothing now. You know, Patreon used to be very...
He's an idiot for saying that. First things first. So YouTube, right, has been dwindling, okay, since like 2015, I argue 2014, to be honest. After he moved, it was basically starting to dwindle. But we'll say 2015 for, you know, to keep with the camaraderie of the timeline, if you will. But YouTube's money has been shrinking literally year after year after year after year after year. He's been in a perpetual yet consistent track of failure when it comes to YouTube money that is ridiculous. While at the same time, for some of the people out there that might be namesayers, you can still make the argument and say, well, he was at least still making six figures. But anyway, the point is YouTube money is basically next to nothing. Some speculation on Twitter and on Kiwi Farms, respectfully, is that he's making somewhere between 12 to like 24,000 a year off YouTube. Still not too bad. It's still a pretty good chunk of change. Then again, Phil has all these addictions going around that, well, we'll talk about that later. But it's still a thing. It's not something that you can necessarily, wag your tail at, so to speak. Patreon, pay me tons. He's still going to sit there and shit on and say, oh, it's almost nothing. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and be frank for a minute. On Patreon, he's still pulling about $400+, give or take, per month. That means, and more than likely, those are people who just have a reoccurring charge, on their card or on their bank account each and every month for this asshole. Now, who gives a damn about how small the amount is? That means that either those people have just totally forgotten, they're not missing out on the money that they are contributing, or there are still people that are putting money aside to help your piece of shit ass out. And you have the nerve to turn around and say that shit is next to nothing. Think about that for a minute. Even Spoonie don't come out of his face and say that shit. And Spoonie says a lot of crazy nonsense. But Spoonie don't say that. Now keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, even at the height of Patreon, he was ripping people off from the jump. Think about all those Patreon choices. Think about all those Patreon playthroughs. Even though they're theoretically the same thing, the way he worded them month by month made it different. Think about Project 7. Think about all the nonsense that he did throughout his years on Patreon. He ripped those people off of $1,200 a month, $1,250 a month, I apologize, if not more, just so he could supplement this little bit of, so he could basically supplement all of the subs he was getting off of Twitch the first time before he took his ball and went home because someone told him to turn down his bitrate. That's all Patreon ever was. It was supplemental income for the money that he should have made on Twitch. So he could talk all that shit he wanted to back in the day about Twitch and how it's garbage and how it's a terrible business and they're not about gamers and so on and so forth, but yet his bitch ass didn't skip a beat when it came to making sure he could try to compensate himself on the money he was making. Monies that he was making. He never really skipped a beat on that. And that was one of the reasons why he has so much frustrations with Patreon, because it requires so much effort. Now, most of you are going to sit there and say, well, how much more effort was it, GTG? Thank you for asking. Ladies and gentlemen, I've always told you that Phil is a creature of habit, right? And so think about it this way. Anything that would be considered a Patreon goal is nothing more than a substitute of whatever work he was going to have to put in streaming on Twitch back in the day. So let me slightly reword that. The time that he used to take streaming, right, and interacting in air quotes, was substituted with Patreon and Patreon goals. You see what I'm saying? Same amount of effort, just on a different platform. You see what I'm saying? He could have just gone ahead and just taken the easy way out and not really done much of anything and just collected his money each month. But he didn't necessarily want to do that. He wanted to see if he could pull as much money out of people as possible. To do so, you have to simulate, keyword, you have to simulate interaction with those people. How do you do that? You go ahead and make up these Patreon goals, right? You make these polls and shit for them and whatnot, and you give them the illusion of choice. You give them the illusion that what they say matters and they have a voice and it actually means something to you. As long as you catch your money at the beginning of the month, who gives a shit? This is what type of scumbag Dark Side Phil is. This was very apparent back in those days, but it's just become even more pronounced now because he's not making $1,250 anymore, so he can shit on it. If he was making $800 on it, he would still shit on it because he's not making the set goal. He is not making the set goal that he established. So anything that you got, any goal that he establishes that you guys can't hit, you failed. And after a while, when he starts to lose interest in it and then eventually gives it all up, even if you guys are still trying to contribute to it, he doesn't give a shit. You guys are still failures, and that right there is no longer a priority to him because you guys can't even hit the goal. He'll still take the residuals. Don't get it twisted. Like a broke rapper, he'll still take whatever he can get. But because you guys can't hit the goal, it shows your lack of dedication, your lack of loyalty, and your lack of commitment to Dark Side Phil. DSP Phil Burnell. Remember that.
Yeah. And Patreon just kind of dwindled and went away, which I'm not surprised at. People started supporting the streams more by cheering, subbing, and tipping. And when that happened, when I saw the big increase in stream support, I saw Patreon go a little bit less each month, a little bit less each month, and now it's almost nothing. I wouldn't be surprised if to the point where Patreon eventually goes away completely, even though there are people who are longtime fans and dedicated, and they just leave their pledges. I appreciate that. Those who just leave those pledges going, you know, and people do still get
even though he said their money was next to nothing for him.
Whatever. Don't think this means, oh, I abandoned it, I don't give anyone their perks or whatever for Patreon. No, I do. It's just that my focus has gone solely to streaming. And so when
Which is funny, too, because if you remember back in those days, he used to say, oh, I have to go through this, and I have to go through that, and I have to spend a day doing this, and I have to spend a day doing that to get all you guys your perks and all of your whatever when it comes to Patreon. But now he's saying that, oh, yeah, I give you guys your perks and everything, and it's still no big deal. So it's funny how, yet again, me putting this emphasis on the amount of effort that he put into it, or he tried to simulate that he put into it. It's funny how back in the day when Patreon was pronounced, he had to act like he was working so goddamn hard and he was in this mad dash to get you guys your perks right away so you guys can enjoy the fruits of your labor, if you will, by contributing to them. Now, oh yeah, I'll make sure you guys get your perks. Or they may even be getting their perks reoccurring each and every month, and you never hear no drama around it. You never hear no huff or no fuss or nothing. It just happens like it's supposed to. But back in the day, he made it seem like it was such a big deal. Hard work, right?
the Patreon stuff's going to kind of dwindle away, you know what I mean? Patreon really is the way that YouTubers who can't make enough money on YouTube get by, because the ad revenue is so bad on YouTube, they do all these special things for patrons. I don't have to do that, thank God.
And that's not true either. There are a lot of people that use Patreon on YouTube who don't even collect ad revenue. Since he's such an idiot, though, he's going to tell you that. Now, keep in mind, let's play devil's advocate for a minute, okay? Let's walk on the snort side for just a second. He knows that. He knows that not everybody who has a Patreon on YouTube actually collects ad revenue. But see, yet again, in typical Dark Side Phil fashion, if it's not a priority to me, then I can shit on it any way I want. So be it. Right there is proof in the pudding. Now, one more thing I'd like to emphasize before we move, as we continue to move forward, is that the reason why Patreon slipped is his fault. Let me explain. For any of you guys who have been longtime listeners of the show, you guys know that I've said from, at least since I started my run, my rookie year, if you will, that he needs to keep the emphasis on Patreon so he can continue to try to get that 1250 while still branching out and getting his little Twitch begathon money. The problem was for Phil is that when that money over there on Twitch was treating him so good, you know, with his little sob stories of this, that, and the third, depression, yada, 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 you know, whatever. You know, if I get on my hands and knees and be a whore to you, I'll do it. Whatever, you know what I mean? Because that money was treating him so good, and because, this is the pivotal point, because he thought he could run that fundraiser / charity scam that he was pulling for a little while, he thought he wouldn't need Patreon anymore. He wasn't going to tell people not to contribute. He just didn't see a need to emphasize it. Now, most of you are like, well, what is this fundraiser / charity scam? I call it a scam because that's really what it was. But for a while there, some of you guys, yet again, who are longtime listeners or followed the Detracted community for any amount of time, you know Phil was doing fundraisers on Twitch, raising funds for himself, of course. And he'd have these little quote-unquote charity streams to help him raise money for, you know, taxes and all this stuff, moving Catherine in, getting Jasper declawed, allegedly, yada, yada, yada. You know what I mean? Well, as I had said with G Money about a year ago, maybe a little longer than that. I need to actually talk to him, Ghostly Wins, a few other people. But we had both talked about if he had done it once a quarter or 4 times a year, he would have been fine. I think I said 4 times a year. I think G Money said if he did it 3 times a year. Either which way, we're both not wrong. If he had showed a level of moderation with doing these charity streams, he would have been cool. The problem was the money was too good. The money was real good. The money was the equivalent, I'm exaggerating slightly, but I mean only slightly. The money was so good to a point where it was almost like having an Emerald 7 or a King Tut each and every month. If he was to take it each and every month. And he couldn't give that up. So he fucked it all up for himself because he brought all this exposure on himself, and then Twitch kind of came in and was like, yeah, stop all that. That's why he's scared to kind of do that now. I mean, he's kind of getting back into the routine of doing fundraiser streams, if you will, but he doesn't broadcast it the way he does. You know what I mean? So that's where that sequence of events comes from. And right around the time he was starting to get the ball rolling for that, he kind of just up and abandoned Patreon. He did it to himself. And if you're going to use YouTube, right, as your legacy, if you will, your online legacy, if you're going to use that as an archive, as he says he does, you would think that the one thing that's tied to that archive, which is Patreon, you would continue to put an emphasis on. Hey, I am still archiving these videos for you, these playthroughs for you, these stream uploads for you. Please continue to contribute to Patreon because that right there makes it worthwhile. Ad revenue is almost gone, but this right here continues to reinforce that you people still appreciate what I do. He can word it in a bunch of different ways. He could if he had imagination and creativity, but he has none of those things. Anyway, and I don't need to be giving him no help. With that being said, he could have played some angles like that and made it work, but he didn't. Because, like I said, he's so single-minded in his approach to life in general that he found the next new lick, if you will, and he just went for it. And what I mean new lick, I don't mean his wife. I mean when he found out that he could do these fundraiser things or these fundraiser / charity nonsense, and he could make ridiculous amount of money doing it, he went for it until he fucked it up, as usual. Because whenever Phil finds something new that can be successful, he grinds that shit into the goddamn ground. And now it's useless. Chill streams are almost the perfect example. It's a good idea to do chill streams, right? But he needs more variety. When you tell Phil variety, he thinks games. No, idiot, atmosphere. You know what I'm saying? You need to give people more, you need to provide something for people that they can't get from you every day. Boomer segment is kind of that thing. The problem is he's still too stupid and he's too weak of character to actually turn on his stream at night for 2 hours and do an IRL stream, or just do a Q&A. Just do a boomer stream, if you will, or a boomer Q&A for 2 hours. He don't want to do that because he's like, oh well, I already do Ask the King, and now he's got this new thing he's going to do every quarter where he tells you about his business and everything like that. He's going to give that to us like 3 or 4 times a year. So he's like, oh, I don't need to do that now. That's not going to be worthwhile. So he's just going to go ahead and play these games and make those games tired, make those games old, make those games repetitive, and he's going to make them next to nothing. The only reason why the chill streams actually are worth a damn isn't even for his benefit. It's for that of the detractors, trolls, haters, and critics. They're the ones who get the real benefit from it. Because this idiot right here doesn't understand what ambiance is, which is atmosphere. He doesn't understand what that is. He doesn't understand the concept. You would think for someone who's walked into as many restaurants as he has, you would think he would understand that. But he don't. Everybody needs to be at a 4 or a 5-star rating, gold standard, platinum, whatever. But Phil Burnell never has to get there. And if he does decide to get there, it's going to be on somebody else's back. Imagine that. DSP News.
Because I'm a live streamer now, so I would think I'm in a better situation than that. So, but no, like, I agree with you. Like, YouTube, it would not be the end of the world if I could not upload to YouTube and make money there anymore. It would suck, because it's a 10-year legacy of content I've got on fucking Dspgaming, and if they, like, for some reason the channel went away or whatever, yeah, I would hate that. That would be really fucked up and annoying to me. But the revenue I make there isn't 100% a ginormous chunk and essential for my survival. I'm sure whatever I make there, if I needed to, and I told you guys, oh man, things are going really wrong on YouTube, I could probably make it up on stream. Just saying. So hint, hint, hint. Hint, hint, hint. Hint, hint, hint.
By the way, hint, hint. Hint, hint. Mark McCauley says, hint, hint. Dude, no hint, hint. I'm outright telling you, I really would appreciate some help via tipping. That's not a hint.
I don't know why you guys freak out about the simplest things. Oh, what was that?
Well, what about those 2 times, I can't remember if it was last year or in 2018, where he basically put South Galtopia, YouTube, on notice and said, you guys need to step up, or you guys are taking my content for granted, and if you guys don't do so, I'm not going to archive my stuff here anymore. Remember, like those 2 times? And whatnot, go ahead and put out these veiled threats, and then say, oh, if you guys don't help me out, I'm just going to pull all this away from you guys, and that's that. Even though he still collected what little ad revenue that he was getting on top of whatever bait money he ended up getting off of the stream. What a hypocrite. just what a slimy, greedy bastard.
Vacuuming sound. Well, let's see. What do you think it was? Let's think about this. A government team looking for aliens are sweeping my house right now. The FBI is looking for drugs, so they're combing the halls, or maybe my wife is cleaning the house. 3 possibilities. One of those 3, maybe. Like, what do you think it is? Why are you asking? What do you think it is?
It was Jasper vacuuming. You got it, Philly Buckeye. He's out there. He's very productive. He runs around the house with dirt devils.
As much as you guys would love to see me upgrade my PC, I have no money. You guys don't understand.
Now, here's actually a nice hot take I'd like to go ahead and point out. So you hear all this noise in the background. He says it's Catherine cleaning the house. And during the evening stream, or after the evening stream, if I remember correctly, given how bummy he looks right now. So a couple of things. Hasn't Phil over the years said that he can't vacuum his... Actually, let me go ahead and give you guys a particular and specific time period. Right after Panda left his bitch ass, right? Didn't people say, hey, Phil, if you don't have time to clean up your office or clean up the house during the day, why don't you do it in the evening after your streams? Oh, I can't do that because then I'll get a noise complaint from my neighbors. I can't do that. The vacuum will be so loud that my neighbors will be able to hear it, and that'll be noise complaints. Now, this idiot right here can sit there and yell at the top of his lungs and curse out Tevin, Evil AJ, whoever, either third back in those days, shit on Swaggins. He can do all that at the top of his lungs, right? Well, at the top of his piggy lungs, if you will. But yet he can't run a vacuum cleaner. But now, beginning of 2020, Catherine can go ahead and run that vacuum cleaner and there's no problems. Huh. That seems rather peculiar. Another question though, or another little instance that I'd like to point out. How is it that Phil is so quick to get up off a stream at night, some nights? Oh, Catherine's getting ready to come home, or I want to spend time with my wife, or whatever the case may be, right? Whatever has to do with Catherine or Cat, he needs to go ahead and run up off stream so he can go and spend time with her or help her or do whatever. She's cleaning right now. He ain't doing shit. And he's made, if I'm looking, let's see, how much did you made? How much you made? It looks like you made about $120 plus $20+. And he's already hit his tip goal for the day. Why is he not in a hurry to go ahead and get off stream and help her clean up? They're supposed to be married. They're a family, right? They're supposed to be doing things together. Why can't he help her clean up the house right now? He's already made his tip goal. What's the problem? Any other night, he would be quick to go ahead and run up off stream. But tonight, though, Catherine's cleaning up late. Yeah, I'm going to let that bitch go ahead and clean up, and I'm going to go ahead and chill with you guys. I can go ahead and talk to you guys for about a half hour, another 45 minutes. You know, while my wife's cleaning up the house. So what do you guys want to talk about? Doesn't that make you guys wonder a little bit? And to add an additional caveat to that, most of those nights that he was in such a mad dash to get up off stream because he supposedly had to help Catherine, or he supposedly had to get the house ready before she got home, most of those days, she didn't even work. She was already home. Most of those days that he said that she was home and he wanted to help her make dinner or whatnot, she was still at work. He's been caught tripping up over that too a couple of times. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm just a brain dead detractor. That's all. I thought I'd just mention it. You know, for posterity's sake. DSP News.
I have no money. I don't know how much more I can explain to you guys every single fucking day when you talk about stuff like this. I don't have the money to do it. You know, I
don't have money to do it.
The funny thing was, if you guys might have to go back a couple of seconds to see what I'm talking about. He says, I don't have any money to do it. I don't have any money to do it. But yet you see his eyes keep darting off to the side almost every time he did it, every couple of seconds. Seems like a bit of an issue. You know what I'm saying? Like, he can't look directly at the camera and say that I don't have the money for a new PC, even though he can't take care of the PCs that he currently has, whether they were custom built or pre-built. And this is also coming from the same idiot who used to build PCs back in the day, so he can't go ahead and scavenge is what I'm looking for. He can't even scavenge through the PCs that he has and use those parts, figure out what's compatible and what isn't, and then go ahead and refurbish a brand new one. Yikes. That's a bit of a problem, ain't it? Oh well, semantics, I'm sure.
Money to do it. I don't have 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 money to pay my fucking taxes.
PW Dubs to me, $1 said, what do you want your final legacy to be about? I don't really give a shit. I never did this for a legacy. I never did this for any of that. I did this because I'm a guy who has fun and wanted to share my fun experiences on the internet, and people seemed to like that. Ultimately, what my final legacy is in your hands. However you want to remember me. Do you want to remember me as the guy who was here every day, busting his butt, playing games and having fun, putting out great streams for you? Do you want to remember me as the guy who had a few moments of shortcoming and that's all you care about, right? So, it's up to you. It's not up to me. And there's no way that I can formulate what people will think of in the future. So I'm just here to have fun and keep it going as long as I can.
I'm a dumb kid, right? Your dad said I have a soy beard. What does that mean? It means your dad's a complete fucking idiot. That's what it means. Why am I toxic? More toxic, more toxic. We're making $30,000 a month back in 2012, 2013. I can 100% swear to all of you.
Now, I want you guys to think about this. I want you to see him with his hoof up there. I want you guys to try to give some emphasis to all this. First off, he does have a soy boy beard. He really do. I'm surprised that Catherine isn't making him drink a whole lot of soy milk. So, you know, we all see the bitch in him. Secondly, it's funny how he says, oh, all these people talk shit about me, but they'd never say that to me in real life. I bet you anything you wouldn't approach that, however old that kid is. You're not going to tell his father that shit. You definitely wouldn't say that hot shit to him. So that's funny. Third point. It's funny how this idiot right here has lied throughout 2019, unapologetically about it. Plenty of times he said, I lied to protect my family. I lied because I had to keep certain things from you because people would use it against me. I've lied, yada, yada, yada. He's admitted a lot of that in 2019, being a blatant liar. Not that he needed to, because we all heard it, but he blatantly told the Pig Roach cult that I lied to you a number of times. Now, over $30,000 a month back in the day, when this idiot right here has made the emphasis of, oh, it was milk and honey. It was the fucking gravy train. I made so much money, it was ridiculous. That's why he didn't save none of it. He's now going to go ahead and put his hoof up and tell people, oh, I'm telling you guys the truth. I swear to God that I never made $30,000 a month. He's really, and people are going to really be dumb enough to believe that. It's fucking insane, man. Fucking insane. He had spent all of 2019 lying and admitted later on that he lied. In most of 2018. Well, all of 2018 too, but you know what I mean. And now he wants to put his hands up, his hoof up and say that, you know what, I'm telling you guys the truth. You admitted to these people that you've lied to them. And now you want to sit there and praise and put your hand up to God and say that you're telling the truth. This is Monday Matt all over again. Oh, that video's coming too, by the way. But this is Monday Matt all over again. I swear to God. I swear to God, I swear on my daughter that I didn't flag those people down. I swear to God I didn't. Jim, you know me. Ralph, you know me. I swear to God I didn't do it. That's what this is. Super Soy Brothers.
Not once in my entire life has I made $30,000 in 1 month. Silver-tongued talker, right? Oh, I'm just going to say it one way, and hopefully you'll believe it, even though that's not the truth. And that's literally what's happening here. The guy's a liar. The guy's a fucking blatant liar and lying to everyone. Not when I worked at a real estate company where I was selling mortgages and I made my biggest month ever with commission. I never made that much. When I was on YouTube and I was making insane ad revenue, I never made $30,000.
I mean, the same more. Yeah, you can just tell as this goes on that he's not coming across genuine. But you mean that same mortgage company that you sat there and said that you guys were predatory lenders and you were basically fucking people into bad spots knowing they'd never be able to get out of, but yet you want to sit there and almost low-key brag about the commission you made off some of those people who may have actually lost their homes? Wow. That's rather scumbaggish, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? Mr. acting like he had some type of moral code about what he was doing back in those days and got fired. I think he got fired because he was jealous of somebody else getting promoted, or he was low-key trying to go after one of the girls there and she was already sucking some other dick. I can't remember now. It doesn't matter. It'll come back later on. I'm sure that situation will come up later. Or go to, what's it, Pig Go, and I'm sure you can look it up and you'll find it there. But he's low-key bragging about that when he used to sit on his moral high horse, not Catherine, and say that it was disgusting and how they took advantage of people that knew they couldn't pay, and so on and so forth. That's insane.
In a month. That's ludicrous. That never happened for me. Maybe other YouTubers, yes, never for me. It's all true except for everything that's a lie and false.
PW Dubs to me $1 says, do you get offended when people call you a boomer? No, because it's stupid, because I'm not. A baby boomer was someone, those are my parents are baby boomers, not me. If you want to say I'm older and more out of touch with the current generation of gamer, that's one thing. To call me a boomer makes no fucking sense because I'm not. Just factually, I'm not.
That's 100% a lie. PW Dubs to me $1 says, if I came to Seattle to go deer hunting.
I'm not even going to touch that, but we're talking about a shut-in, a closeted shut-in. Take that wherever you want to take it. But we're talking about a closeted shut-in who has a cat and a roommate. And that's it. Nothing else. Something to think about.
Would you go with me? No. Absolutely not. All right, anything else, guys? Because I'm going to wrap it up here. Anything else? By the way, thank you again for a great Shenmue conclusion stream. You guys have been amazing with the support tonight. Holy shit. Thank you guys for that. I appreciate it. That's awesome stuff. I can't wait. I'm having so much fun now. Really, seriously. And I cannot wait for more. This is cool because I'm getting that positive vibe that I had for most of 2017. I'm getting it back now. Now I'm getting that groove back, getting that vibe back. I'm ready for fun stuff. I hope you guys are ready too.
What was my highest paying month ever since Wigglebottom? I would have to go look. I could definitely tell you this. I know that at least 1 month, I made it like $10,000 in 1 month. I know that for a fact. I can tell you that. But again, that was like the very beginning time when I was ultra white hot popular on YouTube from like 2011. I made like $10,000 in 1 month at one point. And I was looking at this, I was showing it to my dad, and we're looking at like, what the fuck? Oh, this is insane. How could this last? All I'm doing is playing games and putting videos on the internet. I'm making like insane money, right? And it literally didn't. Like it went, boo, it just kept going down and down and down and down and down. It only lasted, the actual money making years was about 2 years, 2011, 2012. And then after that...
That's not true. That's not true in a couple of different things, but it also, he's giving us insight into a level of ignorance that even I don't believe his father was that stupid to let his son fuck himself over like that. but bear with me for a minute. Watch me work. So his money making years is really from like 2011 to probably his big money years are probably from 2011 to 2013. That's, in truth, that's his real money years. So, end of story. The big problem that we have is the fact that you're making $10,000 a month, right? Allegedly. He's making $10,000 a month, and him and his dad are looking at the money and are like, there's no way this is going to last. This is ridiculous that you're making all this money by playing games. There's no way you're going to be able to sustain this. And yet, neither one of them came up with an idea to save the money. He's out of work, right? Because he got laid off. He's already cashed in his 401k. He's already cashed in, what else did he have? He cashed in his 401k. He had like a severance package. He's living off of that. Gets his first big paycheck, and neither one of these idiots could put their two peanut brains together and come to the realization, you should probably save this. I want you to think about that for a minute. Now, on top of you thinking about that, I also want to emphasize that he's been doing this for over a decade. He's been online making a living, quote unquote, for over a decade. And yet, throughout that whole decade, for whatever reason, no one ever thought about or actually had a plan for the money. At all. At all. Let that sink in for a minute.
Went down, down, down. Eventually it did kind of plateau from going down around 2014, 2015. And then people hit me with false copyright strikes and all of that. And that fucked my channel over. And
still making six figures, though, at that time.
2017, there was the apocalypse.
Even when he plateaued, still making six figures.
To the point where now I'd be lucky. I would be lucky to make 1/10 as much as I used to make doing YouTube for a living. Like, lucky.
Now, at his height, the speculation is he was making about $20,000 plus a month. So, with that being said, it's probably fair to say that's about $260,000 a year for a couple of years. If you want to go ahead and say 1/10 of that, then that means Phil's pulling about, he's pulling about 24, 26,000 a year now, which isn't completely off the mark. It's not something that's not, it's not something completely out of touch. Just something to think about, just something to think about.
To make that much, so.
I made money. I made a ridiculous fuck ton of money.
I think we'll call it a night here, guys. Alright, guys, thank you very much. I appreciate y'all hanging out with me. Remember, tomorrow, Knights of the Old Republic. We'll see how that goes. Hopefully it's good. If you've played the game before and you want to help me with it, please show up tomorrow, because I'm going to need help not knowing what the fuck I'm doing, being it's an older game.
Ayúdame, por favor.
Now, I thought playing any game, ladies and gentlemen, is about the exploration. You go ahead, you look at the controls, and then you kind of make your way. Why is it that Phil needs to have his hoof held from Jump Street? Why is that? Does anybody else find that peculiar? You're playing a game that you've never played before, but you immediately want help with it. You don't want to sit there and try it on your own. Have your slip and falls, right? And then grow from that. he wants help immediately because he doesn't want people to make fun of him and call him a bad gamer. As if it doesn't make you look bad for asking for help. Sorry, let's reword that. Even though it doesn't make you look bad asking for help before you actually get into a position where you need help, why can't Mr. Valedictorian think his way out of it? Why can't Mr. Lifelong Gamer figure out what needs to be done? Wow.
Es muy importante. Oh, hold my hand every single, moment of every game.
And already I see the stream is kind of being derailed by a bunch of people. So I'm just going to say this very matter-of-factly up front. And I'm going to mention it again when we get to the rules segment. One of the things that I don't allow on my stream is political discussion. Okay? Political discussion, I feel, has no purpose here on a gameplay stream. Alright? I'm well aware that there's political stuff going on in the world right now. Alright? That's great. And, if you guys want to talk about it outside of this stream, that's amazing. But it has no place on this stream. I don't want to hear people completely derailing my stream talking about this stupid shit. Because, quite frankly, it has nothing to do with my stream. People who come to my streams come here to escape all of that crap, okay? It's very simple.
Wait. No, I really don't understand this. And I've been on my fair share of streams, so I think I have at least some insight on this. Despite what is being served to you, right? Let's look at you guys going to a stream, right? As if you were going to like a dinner party or something, right? Let's look at it like that. Despite what's being served, you know what I'm saying, to you, there is space to try new things, right? Maybe someone brought something, maybe someone has some recommendations, whatever the case may be. You know what I mean? You get to mingle a little bit. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that. So let's go ahead and take that same analogy and then remix it a little bit. So let's say, for example, you guys were going to a dinner party, and let's say Catherine only made a huge batch of mashed potatoes with some unseasoned chicken, and that's it. Now it's a dinner party, which means other people brought other items, other food items and stuff, and they're all laid out on the table too. Going with the Phil Burnell analogy, he only wants you to eat what him and his wife brought and just ignore everything else. If you want to eat everything else, you take that outside and eat it with swaggins. But if you're going to be in the house, you can't eat all that, because that has nothing to do with Catherine and Phil. They only want you to eat what they have, what they made. What sense does that make? You're on a stream. If nothing is going on, or even if something is even if something is going on, you should have the right within a certain level of common sense to be able to speak on whatever you want to speak on about. If there is, let's say, I don't know, I guess on a normal stream, there's maybe 20 people, for variety's sake, on a Phil stream at any given time. If there's 20 people up there, maybe all 20 of them don't want to talk about Phil failing, or bitching about Tevin, or complaining about Evil AJ, or complaining about his taxes, or whatever other petty ass shit that he has to talk about. Maybe someone has something they really want to speak on. Something sports related, something that they heard in the news, something about games, something about PC, something or anything that has nothing to do with what Phil's doing right at that moment. Why are they not allowed to have that? Phil wants to sit there and say, oh, you can't talk about politics because this is supposed to be an escape. As if life isn't hard enough, you have to come to a stream and watch another man fail, not only at the game, not only at streaming, but at life in general, to find an escape from your own life. But doesn't Phil say that people who relish and revel in other people's failures are brain dead idiots and are miserable people? But isn't that not, ladies and gentlemen, the same thing he says about other streamers who he feels are doing things wrong? Or what he did to Pro Jared when Pro Jared fucked up, and he was allowing all that conversation that be had in his comment section? Or in his chat? Or, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and bring up something a little bit more relevant. What about all the Wings memes that comes about? That he actively engages in sometimes. And even if he chooses not to interact with it, he still lets it happen. What about that? Wings don't got shit to do with your streams, bruh. Doesn't have a damn thing to do with your streams. But yet you'll let people shit on Wings in your chat because it entertains you. or because it entertains them. But no one can talk about something that's going on right now in real time that could very well affect them or their loved ones or people that they know in the foreseeable future. Think about that for a minute, ladies and gentlemen. This is how this man looks at the world, and this is what he thinks of the world around him. If he's not going to interact or engage with it, no one else can do it either. And if you're going to do so, fine, but don't talk about it here. Like something like that is barred. But he didn't have any problem talking and lying about the government fucking over credit card interest rates, hence the reason why he went from paying basically nothing except for the minimum monthly payment to now having to pay double. But he said that was the government's fault, when it wasn't. He was given an introductory APR, or interest rate, and once it expired, he didn't have a new card to go ahead and transfer that balance to, and he got stuck with it. That's what happened. That's real world, real life shit. But it was real world, real life shit that only affected him and nobody else. And that's when he felt like getting on his pomper and bitching and complaining about it, getting on his soapbox and shitting it up. But now that people are going to actually lose, possibly, are going to probably lose family and loved ones over this shit, and they want to talk about it and get other people's opinions, you can't do that here. Because that's going to derail the stream. Yikes.
You know, when you're coming to a gameplay stream, you're probably coming to hear my honest reactions to a game, to react to, things that people are saying in the stream chat in regards to said game, etc. You're not coming here for political talk, all right? You're probably coming here to escape it. Let's face it. If you've been on social media in the last 24 hours, you've been absolutely bombarded with this stuff, all right? You're coming here to get rid of that for a while. You're not coming here to becoming further bombarded about it, all right? So it's this simple. If I start seeing it, moving forward, you're just going to get...
But if they're willingly talking about it, then are they not taking that burden onto themselves? It's funny how he's talking about you're supposed to be here to try to escape all those things, but these are people who are actively seeking other opinions out on it. So it means it's not really bothering them. It seems like at least some of them, in some way, shape, or form, or some capacity, are trying to be responsible citizens and want to get people's opinions and try to further educate themselves on the circumstance. Now, one could make the argument that, oh, well, they don't have to do it there on Phil's stream. Well, ladies and gentlemen, what else is going on Phil's stream? Basically, what Phil told you is he wants you guys to participate in essentially furthering his own self-masturbation, only talking about him. Just because you show up to anybody's stream, it doesn't mean that the whole stream has to be about that person. You're already there. You're already interacting with that person or with that stream in some way, shape, or form. So you kind of already know what it's about. That doesn't mean, though, you can't have another conversation or have a conversation aside from the streamer and aside from the game itself, and people may not be interested in participating in. And that doesn't derail the chat. You want to know why it derails the chat, ladies and gentlemen? Because his dumbass is sitting there looking for people to ban, waiting for cheers, and waiting for tips to come through, and waiting for talking points so he can participate. Because he's not creative. He's not creative, certainly, but he's not creative. He doesn't have any type of imagination. He doesn't have anything to talk about because he doesn't do anything. He's completely and totally dependent on that chat to make his stream what it is. And he doesn't want it to be derailed by saying something political that's going to end up getting clipped, and it's going to make him look even stupider. That's going to make him seem even more ignorant than we already know he is. You want a perfect example of that? Go on Twitter and look for his D-Day, Happy D-Day post or tweet. It's all the proof you'll ever need. DSP News.
Timed out, and then you're going to get banned. It's against the rules. It's 100% against the rules. And if you don't listen to the rules, you're going to get moderated. All right? So, just listen up. It's that simple. I don't want to see anyone talking about it. If I see people start talking about it, that's it. I don't even want any whining or excuses if you get moderated on the stream. I warned you. It's in the rules. It's your own fault for not listening and being immature. Okay?
Toxic again. Toxic again.
So I'm laying down the law early here so you guys understand what's going on and there's no misconceptions. Okay? Fair enough? Alright. Fair enough then. I don't want to hear it. If I see it, you're out of here. Okay?
I don't have items to get rid of toxic. So I can't cure toxic.
So, tons of ways for you to get recognized, tons of ways for you to help out. Thank you very much to anyone who considers doing so. Now, after all the stuff I just mentioned, you may be saying to yourself, well, what is the best way to help you, Phil? Because you just talked about so many different ways, right? Well, very matter-of-factly, the absolute best way to support me would be by tipping me. The reason that I say that is because when you tip me, those are funds I get immediately to do things with. So, for example, whatever you tip me with this week will help me with the cost of games this month. Dragon Ball Z Kakarot's right around the corner, right? It's going to help me for my groceries when I go grocery shopping this week. You know, all that kind of stuff. That's what your tips go to help out with. Okay?
Wait. Did he say that's going to help with groceries? What? Okay. If any of you guys have been over there on Almighty Tevin's streams, right, in the back in time shit or whatever, you guys already know that Phil, for the most part, buys everything in bulk, unless he goes to, like, Trader Joe's or Fred Meyer's, because, I don't know, they're more upclass than, like, a Walmart or something, and he likes to spend a bunch of money over there. Whatever. We're using tip money now to buy groceries, my dude? Like, this is what it's come down to. At first, it used to be about covering games. Then he said he was using that money to cover bills. Then he said he was using that money to fight off overdraft fees. Then he said that money was going to go to helping him buy peripherals. And then he ended up getting an Amazon wish list, or he ended up creating one, I should say. Now, we're using it to get groceries. Now, keep in mind, Catherine still works, at least as far as we know. She may not be working full-time like Phil said. She might be actually working only part-time. But she does work. Groceries, though. We're begging for tips now to buy groceries. That's what this has come down to. Oh, man, 2020 is going to fucking be amazing. 2020 is going to be amazing. We're begging for grocery money. We literally out here asking kids for their milk money so he can go ahead and have milk money. That's literally what we're doing. Damn, can we at least get some strawberry milk? Or some banana milk? Something? Some variety? Can we get some caramel milk? Damn.
So, that's why tipping helps so much. Now, if you contribute via other methods, like cheering, or subbing, or Teespring, etc., those all help too. But those have a little bit of a delay before there's any kind of a positive impact that I get from them. A little bit of processing time. Versus tipping, immediate, you know, able to use funds to do stuff with. So, I appreciate people who tip me, because you're basically saying, I understand that, you know, this helps a little bit more, and I want to help you out in the best I can, alright?
I just want more money.
Okay. Chunky Jack did 100-bit cheer. He says, I don't understand the frog joke, because it's because there is no joke. I guess what happened was, earlier this year, actually I should say last year now, I forgot that we're in a new year now, right? It was one of those very stupid detractor memes, where they just started bringing up frogs, and I guess they thought, oh, we just could bring up frogs on Phil's stream or whatever, we'll derail the stream. Well, the joke was on them, because after they started doing it, and I got caught on at what it was, I said, alright, fine, whatever, you want frogs, you'll have frogs. I made frog emotes for the chat, we started talking about frogs, and I'd say within about a month of me doing that, the whole frog thing wasn't a detractor meme anymore. See what I mean? Because I owned it, and I was like, whatever, it's silly, it's stupid, let's go ahead and say whatever you want, I don't care. It didn't really negatively affect my stuff at all anymore. In fact, it was funny, there was a couple times...
Keep in mind, he's so irritated about that right now, that he has to give us the lore on it. So obviously it still triggers something. Two, just because you monetize, the meme, doesn't mean that the meme stopped. If that's the case, ladies and gentlemen, then why don't we have a gout emote and we don't have a snort emote yet? Why don't we have any of these things yet? Why isn't that a thing? If we're all about triggering the memes and owning the memes, why don't we do that? Is Twitch going to find it offensive that against people who have gout or post-nasal, or not even post-nasal, but nasal drip? No, it's not. It touches a nerve with him. And he doesn't want to embrace that, but he'll embrace the frog emote that still goes on, and people still clown him on multiple platforms. But he owns that though, because he made a couple of bucks off of it, and then it died after a month. It's amazing how everything Phil does dies after about a month. Everything has about a 1 month shelf life, more or less, and then for whatever reason, it strangely it doesn't exist anymore. Well, that seems weird.
Times when the channel got
Or at
raided
least in his mind, it doesn't exist anymore. For everybody else, there's reality.
by outside parties, and they were spamming. I was like, that's it, combat the spam with frogs. And people would come in with the frog emotes, and it was the frogs versus invaders. And it was pretty cool. And, you know, I really feel that if you embrace stuff like that before it becomes a problem, that it ends up being a positive rather than a negative. So I think that's exactly what happened. Is there was some kind of a weird insider joke among detractors and people who you know, talk shit about me constantly, this frog thing. I didn't know what the hell it was. And then somehow, you know, they started spamming it over here, and I owned it, and because of that, it really never amounted to anything bad. So I personally don't get...
But he admits that he still doesn't understand what it means. So just because you made money off of it doesn't make it bad. But you beg all the time, and you fought that off for years. Now you're saying that you beg because you have no choice. And you don't like the fact that people call you out as a beggar, despite the fact that you've admitted that you have to do it. Why didn't you own that? So many contradictions.
Joke either, Chunky Jack, but it is what it is. It exists. Okay?
Do you think I'm stupid? Obviously, the answer is yes, you think I'm stupid.
Oh, I'm such a stupid idiot. PW Dubs tipped me $1 and says, listen to this insanity. Your picture on Instagram from February 19, 2018 has a fireplace. Who's in the fire? What? PW Dubs, alright, you have to understand something. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't care. You just picked a random picture out of my past, and you're asking me randomly who's in the fire. Well, as you know, what I do is I regularly kidnap people and throw them into my fireplace and burn them alive. It's just a common practice out here in Washington State that we do. What a stupid question. First of all, why...
I mean, Phil's the same person that told us that they were trying to reduce... that Washington's like a clean state, so they're trying to reduce on as much human waste as possible. So if one was to take a more macabre way of looking about it, I mean, you know, eliminating the human footprint would probably have leaps and bounds to it. Yeah. I don't know, maybe I should do a skit about that for Halloween. That should be fun.
Searching? Why are you searching my pictures from February of 2018 for hidden shit? Like, what the hell are you talking about?
You do realize those pictures are like publicly available, right? So searching those pictures doesn't make a whole lot of sense when they're actually publicly available. Just like how you didn't mind going through Panda's Instagram pictures. Why are you going through your ex-girlfriend's shit when you're a happily married man with a stepson? I mean, with a cat. Sorry about that. My bad. So why are you going through Panda shit? Just throwing that out there.
Here, alright, I'll give you a hint. It's probably Cat, because that's the only person who's been in my house in, like, years, you know? Back then, I can tell you right now, back then we did not have Jasper that early. So, you know, it had to have been Cat. Who the hell else would it be in my house, sitting there, reflected in the fireplace? What are you talking about? Or, if it's not a reflection, that's just, you know, one of our nosy neighbors who we tossed in there and we burned them alive. So there you go. What the fuck? Alright, can you stop with the nonsense? Thank you. Stop with nonsense. We don't need to hear this nonsense.
Now, if I was the guess, I would have said Phil's high as fuck right here. That's what it kind of looks like. He just looks stoned off his ass. Not drunk. He just looks high as fuck.
So PW...
You know, now that I think about it, we've already seen Phil when he's drunk. He's kind of lazy. He's kind of sloppy. He's very angry. I wonder what he'd be like if he was high, though. I'd like to think he's a bit more mellow. And he's probably loose-lipped. and whatnot. I mean, I would assume Catherine is too when she's high, but what you know what I mean. You know what I mean. Let's be gentlemen about this. But I do imagine what he'd be like if he was high.
Did a couple dollar tips basically saying that he's joking around with me and not to take what he's saying seriously. But PWW is hard to tell. You have to understand that. It's hard to tell, especially when you say something is so matter-of-factly. Like you're referencing a specific date of a picture on Instagram and acting like it's serious.
This is paranoia, by the way.
It's like, I don't understand sarcasm over the internet. It's very hard to, okay?
Well, I don't think you understand sarcasm altogether, but I don't know if sarcasm through the internet would be much different, but whatever.
So please understand that. You know.
And you have someone who's a very emotional, reactive type of person. Those are the worst people to try to joke with at times, especially if, you know, you don't know them. And even if you do know them, some of them are probably not, it's probably not worthwhile.
You probably say at the end of a statement like that is JK, joking, so we know that you're joking. Because we can't read that through a tip message, okay? Mr. Papa Charity says, yes, Phil makes pasta sauce with the people tossed in the fireplace. I do. It's charred. I char their meat in the fireplace. I chop it up and I put it into my sauce. Of course. Modern day Hannibal Lecter.
Burn in hell, Burnell. And now I'm going to burn in hell for the rest of eternity.
Except for he doesn't have any of his talent, skills, wealth, class. None of that. None of that at all.
Because of it, you can't change who you are, I guess. Hell is a place where it's very hot. There's, you know, it's torturous conditions. Fire, hail, brimstone. You know, your body is being ripped apart by demons who are shoving red hot pokers up your rectum. Not a nice place. Okay? Phil has indoctrinated children who send him money, blatantly milking for money. It's a money pit. It's gone. Just gone like that. In an instant. Fucking gone. I just care about money.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen. So since Phil's talking about other people's meat, which that just sounds weird, let's go ahead and take this moment to go ahead and go into our next break. As you guys know, ladies and gentlemen, we are here. This is one of the things here at GTG Networking Productions, the Dspnews The Snort Report, SnortBucks Coffee. We are here and we're committed that in 2020 we want to make Panda. Sorry. Well, we want to make Panda too if she actually watches. But we want to make Catherine. We want to help Catherine, not make her. Because, you know, apparently, Catherine's been forced to watch certain movies by an ex, which is abuse, I guess. But then Phil forces her to watch movies that she doesn't like, which you would think that's abuse too, because if it's abuse for Subaru Man, it should be abuse for Gout Man too. Anyway, we're here, ladies and gentlemen, and we're committed to seeing that Catherine and Phil can be better cooks in 2020. As you know, they got a young son, Jasper, and Lord knows he needs to be forced to eating the same slop every day. So we here are doing our part to see that they can have a better life, a much more fuller life through their favorite things, food, and for Catherine, potatoes. Ladies and gentlemen, this right here will be going into our food segment, brought to us by Tasty. Okay, link will be down in the description for their YouTube channel, but you can also find them on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, I think, Instagram and Twitter, and YouTube. So we'll leave the link to their YouTube channel down below. Feel free to check it out. And let's go ahead and get into that, and we'll see you guys literally in just a second. Or in a few minutes. Amazing.
I just can't help it. By eBay.
Oh, yes!
Contribution.
This is how I play the game! Oh my god! What the fuck?
Holy shit! That is an epic fucking intro, dude. And I have to warn everyone. Warning. What you may see right now is going to be absolutely disgusting.
Well, I don't like to think of it as an intro. I like to think of it as a small cooking show within a much larger program. And it probably would be pretty disgusting to see you try to emulate what you just saw. Ladies and gentlemen, we're here for the second and last video that'll make up our broadcast. Because of course it would. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here with we're yet again we're here with Burnell, DSP, Money Decides, Guest Fighter 5, and money in Patreon is significant, and debunking the drunken peasants. Yikes. Here we go.
Sound good?
Alright, that's... sounds good to me.
Alright, now I get to back out and join a different lobby. Yeah! Look at all these fun lobbies here tonight. This is great. I can't wait to join one of these really fun other lobbies of other people I get to play now. This is excellent.
This is absolutely excellent. Look at this. Look at all this new variety of... Look at all this new variety of competition I'm gonna get tonight. I'm excited. I don't know why. There's actually a lot of people playing this game tonight. Very nice. All right, so everyone's...
Now, here's the thing about the evil AJ dodging that we see from Phil, which is rather pathetic to say the very least. Ladies and gentlemen, this is supposed to be a man who says that Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo is his game. It's the game that he's grinded at the longest. It's the game he's had the most success in. It's the game that he knows everything about in and out, allegedly. And this is his bag, right? This is what he does. This is what he's known for. And we're ducking a guy who used to be a former fan, who is the forefather of This Is How You Don't Plays, and who over the years has proven countless times that he's a better player than you probably ever were. I don't see a reason to duck Evil AJ at all. It's funny because, you know, early 2018, he used to say, well, yeah, I always get paired up with this guy, but I'm always learning something and whatnot. You know, I can appreciate, you know, playing someone of his caliber. To now, we're ducking him. And we're talking shit. But we're ducking him. At every chance. And he would rather go, Phil would rather go into a troll lobby and beat up one guy who's not even really playing, and damn near go back and forth with someone else who he says is beneath his skill level, but can still, can still scrape out a win every once in a while, and then the third person is kind of just non-existent, and he can be okay with that. Yet he's not adding any insight to the game itself. He's not giving you guys any insight into how he looks at the match, how he looks at the matchup, and what is his thought process going through. Now, why would that be, ladies and gentlemen? If he says some of these people are beneath him in level, why is it that he can't commentate himself through a match like Maximilian does, like Jesus Christ, low tier God does, like Justin Wong does, like almost everybody in the FGC? Why does Phil have to sit there and be mute, right, and play Street Fighter and only react when he gets beat or when he feels like he's being cheated, or whenever he gets hit? Why is that? A game that he's been playing for 20 goddamn years, he still treats every day like it's an Evo match. He treats almost every match like it's an Evo match, and then has all the excuses in the world on why he loses. This is supposed to be online. This is supposed to be for fun. This This is supposed to be a chill stream. But why does everybody have to be, they have to play every character like they do, like the pros do? You know what I'm saying? You guys have to follow all the patterns and whatnot. You guys can't deviate from that at all. Why is that? When he can't beat, if he can't beat the online shit, then I'd have to guess, ladies and gentlemen, he probably can't beat the flow pattern shit in real life. I'm pretty confident. That's why he never won an Evo. And I doubt, wholeheartedly, that some of those dudes back in the day he used to play, he probably can't beat any of those guys now. Because all those guys have gone off into other fighting games and kept expanding and kept growing. Not only as competitors, but as people. Phil don't do that. The only filter Phil really has is through Twitter. And even then, he still don't know what he's talking about half the time. And Phil is not very good at emulating what he sees. At least not right away. So what is he really providing you? He's providing, what he shows you is someone who's stagnant, who doesn't have any growth, who couldn't grow, and is stuck where he is. And that's one of the reasons why he hates Evil AJ. Because if you've watched some of the Evil AJ matches over the years that him and Phil have had, you can see growth in Evil AJ. You can see he's grown over the years. Phil hasn't. Phil keeps doing the same pattern type gameplay with certain characters when he is going up against anybody. It's the same shit. And that's very, very obvious to point out. But everybody else around him, though, has actually grown. And more importantly, his skills are diminishing. What little skills that he had are diminishing. And that's because he doesn't engage with anybody else. He doesn't actually commit himself back to the game. And then on top of that, his reflexes, his eyesight, muscle memory, all of that shit is going on him. That's why he has to hit the controller so pronouncedly over and over and over again. Watch some other people who play the game regularly play. They don't play like Phil. Phil has to sit there and be the Neanderthal to sit there and fucking but you don't see other people do that. That seems odd. So either A, Phil has broken his controllers, B, Phil can't see what's going on. Like he really can't see what's going on. C, he's not that smart, so he can't actually read or he can't make reads on his opponent. Or D, all of the above. Shouts out to John the Don.
Me a hard time because I added wrong, because I was trying to rush to do the math before a match started. Currently I'm up to $91 in tips, and I want to say thank you to everyone who's contributed tonight, because you guys have been awesome with contributions tonight. I really do appreciate it.
That's awesome stuff. I can't wait. I'm having so much fun now. Really, seriously, and I cannot wait for more. This is cool because I'm getting that positive vibe that I had for most of 2017. I'm getting it back now. But now I'm getting that groove back, getting that vibe back. I'm ready for fun stuff. I hope you guys are ready too.
Let's see how we're doing with subs. We're at 650 subs. So we went up a ton of subs tonight too. So thank you guys so much for the support tonight. I guess you guys actually really do like seeing Throwback Street Fighter, don't you? So tonight is like the literal opposite.
Oh yeah, this was the night where it was going to be make or break, because he was threatening to quit playing Street Fighter. That's what this is. He was threatening to not play Street Fighter anymore. Or not anymore, but he was going to put that shit on hiatus. That's what this is. Okay, now I remember. Which was dumb. He had a couple of weak nights. No big deal. But, you know, Phil's such a bitch that, you know, he has to go to the extreme on everything to justify that what he does has value. And if you have to go to those links, to those measures, if you will, to prove what you do has worth, then it's not really worth anything at all. And if nothing else, similar to that once, maybe twice a month with Catherine, it's just kind of pity sex and it's not really worth anything to anybody. Someone needed to say it.
The experience we had last week. Last week there was only like 2 or 3 people playing. There was a ton of fucking stupid trolling. We couldn't get any matches. It looks like this week it's the opposite, so good stuff, I guess, right? I hope we can keep it like this every week, seriously.
If we can get it like this every
Also,
week.
he kind of proved my point too, because the only reason why he threatened to put this on hiatus is because he was getting trolled heavily last week, and he probably didn't make really any money. Thanks, Phil, for exposing your motives yet again. It wasn't as if it wasn't already easy, but, whatever.
I definitely would like to keep it this way. Oh no! What a greedy bastard. I'm an evil bastard. Cynical, negative bastard.
Big Papa Phil took me $4 to very smart streams tonight. Hopefully Street Fighter Friday sticks around. I would say this week was successful. We had a good variety of gameplay. We had good matches with Shell Ryukin and a few other people. Although, Goji Tank's connection lagged up all night, it was still fun. We had a good variety of stuff going on, so I would say we'll keep it in the rotation. Let's see how it goes next week, okay? Hopefully, next week it's as good as this week, alright? Thank you, everyone. It's super duper supportive stream. Are you kidding me with the amount of tips and the amount of cheers and everything tonight? Thank you so much for that.
The money is mine, and I want the money.
Sunday night, my late night stream will be my year-end series for 2019, including the most disappointing games of 2019 countdown, as well as the best games of 2019 countdown. I can tell you guys, I have 11 best games of the year. I couldn't narrow it down to 10, so I made it 11. 11 best games of the year. And 16 most disappointing games of the year.
Now, that right there proves a point that I've made since I started doing this, is that Phil can never sit there and tell you, you guys need to be more positive, or I'm trying to be a positive person, or whatever, DSP positive and all that bullshit. Phil started up on this platform being negative. That's what he's known for. It's what he'll always be known for. You can't change that. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't have enough range. He doesn't have enough creativity. He doesn't have the intelligence. He just doesn't have the range to do that. You know what I mean? He can't. So you're telling me, right? I want you to think about this, that you have 11 games that you consider are good games for the year 2019, but you needed to outweigh that with disappointing games. 16 of them, in fact. He literally struggled to find game number 11 that would be considered some of the best games of the year, but he had no problem with 16 of the most disappointing, which was probably actually 20 if I had to guess. And you think that you're somehow being, you somehow think that right there gives you any type of clout, or that helps your influence or lack thereof, or that shows any range on your part, that you have to have more negative than positive. You're telling me this idiot couldn't go 10 for 10 and then have the 11th game be an honorable mention? And then even with the most disappointing games, take those 6 additional games and make all those unhonorable mentions. You telling me he couldn't do that? No, he marketed it as there's 11 games that I'm happy with, and there's 16 of them that are horrible. And he thinks, and just in case you guys don't see it, I know you guys do, this is him with this whole, I'm the realest guy on YouTube. I'm the honest gamer, and I'm going to tell you guys straight. He's still trying to stick with that, despite all of the shit it's brought him over the years. He still hasn't learned. I don't know if it's something that's subconscious. I don't know what it is. But he's constantly, trying to infuse that into, not infuse it, but he's constantly putting that into his content, and he doesn't even realize it. Because he's never learned. He's treating this like this is 2013 and 14 all over again. And he wonders why he fails. All he did is rehash an idea that he used to do back in the day. And he's not even really improving on it. He's not making it better. It's just the same shit done in a much more lazy fashion. And it will show. It will show when that time comes for whatever this event is. It's going to be half-assed. Because why the hell wouldn't it? Everything that Dark Side Phil does is half-assed, thrown together at the last minute with little to no forethought. And though he could outsource and reach out to some of his own little cult members to help him, he won't do it. Because he's afraid that that cult member might actually be a detractor and then exposes everything. Wow.
There were more big disappointments in 2019 for me than there actually were good games. And I hate to say that, but it was just truthful. Like, 2019 overall was a pretty disappointing year for gaming. So many games that had potential, so many games that promised the world, and when they actually released, they ended up being big, stinky flops. So, yeah, it's going to be very interesting to count those down and see your reactions to them live and stuff, okay? Good show coming up tomorrow night. The absolute best way that you could contribute would be by tipping me, alright? Reason being, when you tip me, those are funds I can put towards things immediately. The cost of games, the cost of internet, electricity, utilities, paying taxes, paying for groceries, you know, all these things. It covers, and your tips...
That groceries thing, sorry, that still messes with me. That messes with me that this is how low we've gone. You know what I mean? Next thing you know, he's gonna say, well, I need tips to fill me and Catherine's medication. That's what eventually it's gonna get to, by the way. Don't think it won't. Jasper too. Eventually, oh, you know, I'm gonna really need those tips, guys, because Jasper's medication is getting really expensive, man, and that insurance we got on him, because he did say that they got insurance for Jasper, it's not gonna cover it all, so we need a little bit of extra help. Eventually, that's what's gonna happen. Eventually. So look out for that in the near future.
Really have kept me alive.
You feed me more. Feed me, Seymour. Feed me. Ganta did nothing wrong, Cheater said pigs are food. Feed a pig to a pig. Wow.
And let me keep going at times when things have been really tough, alright? Now, not to say that the other methods of contribution, like cheering and subbing and Teespring and everything, aren't good. They are. Absolutely, they are. But all of those methods have a processing time between when you contribute and when I actually see a positive benefit. You see what I'm saying? Versus tips, that's immediately I can use that stuff for important things. So if you'd like to contribute in the best way possible, please tip me.
Oh, don't tell me how to give you my money.
So last Rambo Cheers, he says the following. Statistically, he's quoting someone, by the way. I don't know who he's quoting. This is a quote from something, and I don't know what this is a quote of, because I don't follow the fighting game community, but he's quoting something here in quotes. So let's see what he says. He says, statistically, after 4 years of tournaments with hundreds, sometimes thousands of players, at least some scrub would have won, or at least placed top 8 at a premier event by guessing right most of the time. All I've seen since 2016, however, is Tokido, Bon-chan, Fujimara, Problem X, or Punk winning everything. So either they're incredibly lucky, or there's more than just guessing to the game. How then can Street Fighter V...
Wait, you're missing... He's missing a couple of people, though. Well, I feel like Knuckle Dew should be in there somewhere. And I feel like Snake Eyes should be in somewhere, too. Because they've had some at least decent wins throughout the last couple of years. That's just me, though. I'm kind of nitpicking, but I feel like Knuckle Dew, at the very least, deserves to be in there. And Infiltration before the alleged domestic abuse shit. Alleged, by the way.
Guessing game. Okay. Again, I have no idea what this is a quote of. He's quoting someone. Apparently there was some kind of a discussion somewhere about people criticizing Street Fighter V as a guessing game.
Now, here's the thing. I don't remember if that was on Reddit or if that's in somebody's Discord, but he obviously saw the article. That's the point. And the reason why is when you sit there and say, this is a quote, this is an obvious quote, this is an obvious quote from people who were talking about the game in such a manner, but I don't know what it is, you know it's a lie. So I'm assuming Phil saw this on Twitter, but I can't remember though if that discussion started on Reddit or if it started in a Discord. And then it ended up spilling over to Twitter for a much wider base. I don't think Ernesto ended up going over it. That's the guy who does Button Check, by the way. Big ups to him. I don't know if he actually went over that or not in one of his older episodes. But he knows. But he read the thread. That's the point I'm trying to make. So.
And then someone calling it out and saying, well, I don't understand how you could say that, because the same people win every tournament. Okay? Now, fair enough, you would think, well, wait a minute, if the same people are winning a competition over and over, it must mean that there is some kind of a level of skill that these guys have learned, and that's how they're winning, right? I mean, fair enough, that's correct. However, here's where my criticism of Street Fighter V comes into play. Okay?
Then what you have then what you're about to present is not fact. Because what he's about to say is just that. It's his criticism. And this is his criticism from someone who can't compete. On top of the fact that he can't compete, let's talk about why he can't compete. One, he's too slow. And that's really what it comes down to. He's too slow. He is physically too slow. He doesn't process information fast enough to be able to deal with what's coming at him. You want proof of this? Listen to him keep complaining about Super Turbo and its speed. When back in 2005, that Evo, right, where he took 4th place, some of the pros said that speed was wrong. Because I think in that shitty port, don't quote me on this, there was actually 3 speeds that it ran on, and it was running on like speed 3 or something. I can't remember if it was John Choi who brought that up, or if it was, oh my god, what was that dude's name? Afro something. I can't think of his name right now. My bad. But one of those guys had mentioned that the speed was off. But Phil took 4th though. Keep in mind. So, with that being said, Phil has a very hard time making split-second decisions. That's one of his first things. Second is because his eyesight is so shitty, he can't process what he's seeing because he can barely see it. So he has to make blind reads. And when you make blind reads, you get hit. A lot. 3, he didn't put no time into the game. He immediately shitted on that game because it wasn't like Super Turbo. That was his initial problem. It wasn't like Super Turbo. If he had said it doesn't feel or even have a familiarity to like Street Fighter 4, I might have given him a little bit of leeway. But it was like, it doesn't play like Super Turbo. This game is bad. And since he didn't put no real time into it, he didn't get nothing out of it. So he can jump in and give you his 20-year-old Ryu, or Ryu, however you want to word it, however you want to pronounce it, I should say. But eventually he's going to get cleaned up. That's why he keeps staying in I don't know if he's in silver. I think he was in gold for a little while, and then he took some questionable losses to drop back into silver, and then he just left ranking altogether. So I'm not saying nothing about nothing, but it was real interesting how when he got the gold, he was getting cleaned up a lot. And then he took a couple of questionable losses, got back to silver, he was comfortable there for a little while, and then he just then he either stopped playing, or he went to custom matches, and then he stopped playing. Just throwing that out there. Just throwing that out there. He's not good. And he doesn't want to be good. He's waiting for the next Street Fighter game to come out to be like Super Turbo, and that's done. That's over. That's why he keeps chasing after every remake or remaster they put out of the game. He's done. He wasn't that good in Street Fighter 4. I don't care what anybody say. He wasn't that good in Street Fighter 4. He really hasn't been good in anything. He plays everything like Super Turbo, for the most part. And yeah, he was able to get away with it. Yeah, he caught a couple of wins. Good for him. Everybody catches a body once in a while. But at the end of the day, he's just not very good. And he can complain about online. He can complain about everything he wants, but he doesn't like the idea that he struggles. He has some type of invisible level of seniority. And when he steps online, you guys got to respect that. And the game should compliment him in some fantasy way, and by those measurements. And when it don't, he immediately leaves it. That's why he don't play Infinite no more. Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Remember, I was top 100 for a little while, but as soon as he stepped away for a couple weeks and came back, and dudes were cleaning him up left and right, and that little day one 5, 6, 7 hit combo into a super don't work no more, because people figured out a way to break your timing up, which is, something that's in fighting games in general. He didn't want to play no more. Oh, the game died. The game died. No one plays this game anymore. This game's garbage. Despite the fact that there's still a very dedicated community around it. Not a big one, but there's still a dedicated community around that game. He can talk this dumb shit to these kids who don't know shit all they want. But for some of us who actually follow fighting games at least a little bit, we know better.
Ladies and gentlemen, anything can be made competitive.
Snort it up your nose now.
It's a very high-level guessing game. What you're trying to do...
Every fighting game fundamentally is a guessing game. Every fighting game is fundamentally guessing. Especially if we keep it basic, meaning you can only go forward, backwards, up and down. Or, well, and then jump forward, jump, you know what I mean? If you can only go 8 directions, you can't sidestep, you can't do any shit like that, then every move you make is a guessing game. Period. I don't even know why he makes, what he's trying to say is he can't, is the footsies is what hurts him. Because Street Fighter V is very footsie heavy. Ask Tevin, ask Theo, they play. Yeah, they used to play, I don't know if they still play, but they play, they know. That shit is footsie heavy as hell. And on top of the fact that it's footsie heavy, it's confirmed or hit confirmed heavy. Which means the moment you land that hit, you have to know that. You have to know that that hit's there so you can immediately take advantage. It isn't like in Street Fighter in Super Turbo, for example, where you can land a couple of hits, right? And then you can kind of back off and you can reset and then you can work something else out. And because of how punishing Street Fighter V can be, you have to essentially hit confirm almost everything. If not, you're not going to maximize your potential and you're not going to maximize your damage output. And I think Phil innately understands that. The thing is he can't compete physically or mentally. So he doesn't want to do it. He doesn't want to go through the trouble of even learning how to do it. And Street Fighter V ain't going nowhere. Like, if you look at how Capcom is currently being run, and even though they've had some wins this year, they've had some really good fucking wins, they don't give a shit about Street Fighter. They really don't. It's kind of like, okay, it's a little cash cow, it's going to keep making us money. They're going to probably keep Street Fighter out here for a little while. I don't know how long, but for a little while until we even get another Street Fighter IP. And to be honest with you, I mean, I wish someone would just reach out from Capcom and reach out to SNK and either get us another Capcom versus SNK, or finally give us a port, an online port for Capcom versus SNK 2. Or an SNK or a Capcom versus SNK collection, because you think you have Capcom versus SNK 1, Capcom versus SNK 2, and then you have SNK versus Capcom Chaos. They could just give us all 3 of those and make all of that online. I should really do a video on that, actually. Yeah, but either way, they should give us that then. You know what I mean? But Street Fighter V ain't going nowhere. At least not for a while, because it still generates money. Not what it could. If the online was better, then it could really generate some money. If they could fix the online, if they could fix certain things, they can fix some of the game mechanics. But if the online is not going to be fixed, then you're going to have fundamental problems. Because at the end of the day, sorry, I'm being a bit long-winded about this. When it comes to Street Fighter's rebirth, if you will, Street Fighter 4 did it because it was online, and it worked at least halfway decently. If that should have been a priority with every Street Fighter game moving forward, that make sure the online works. If people don't feel like you're supporting, if people feel like you're not going to support the game online, which for most people is their only medium of playing it, because they don't want to travel, do all that silly shit, and they're not trying to be tournament players, but they want to keep up with how, contenders are really competing. If you're gonna fuck that aspect of it up, they're not gonna play it. You know what I mean? It's Street Fighter currently is looking like how Call of Duty looks right now. That's why you don't have a view count in Call of Duty anymore, because Activision knows that the player count has dropped the fuck off. At one time, ladies and gentlemen, for Call of Duty, if you guys saw my Call of Duty video, you kind of know where I'm going with this. There used to be 1 million people per console. There was, at one time, I was watching an old Fisticuffs, and then I saw a Thunder video after that, 402 Thunder video. After that, there used to be 3 million players consecutively on one console. They're never going to hit that again. I don't think they're never going to hit that again. Ever. And the reason why is because they fucked up the fundamentals of Call of Duty, making it fun. It's not fun. They went ahead and sold out to pro players, right? Then they got into the loot box shit, and then they sold out and cucked out. Well, they basically set up the system to where YouTubers could cuck out to them, and it fucked everything up. So now you had a bunch of kids running around here chasing clout, getting virtual items that didn't mean shit to nobody. It don't mean anything. If you spent, for example, $1,000 on Infinite Warfare to get a bunch of fucking cosmetic shit, you may not even be playing that anymore. So where did your $1,000 go? Anyway, think about it. But here, let's reset and get back to the Street Fighter shit.
Is read your opponents, and what you're trying to do is guess what they're going to do, and then guess what's the better option for me in this 50-50 mix-up situation to do that's going to beat my opponent. I'm not saying there's absolutely no factor of hand-eye coordination. I'm not saying there's absolutely no factor of actual planning or skill. What I'm saying is, if you compare Street Fighter V competitively to every other Street Fighter game ever made that's a numbered iteration, it literally is the worst one because it's just guessing. Now, you can say, I'm a competitive guesser. Alright, good for you. And I guess, if you really want to look at the top players of Street Fighter V who we're calling out here, right? I guess what they've done is they've learned the game to the science of guessing well, to the point where they can read, or maybe they know, they study their opponents, they know what their opponents typically would do in a match, and they know statistically what the best thing is to do. Again,
but see, here's the thing. Then Phil is kind of already admitting his limitations as a player, because if it's all guessing, that means the only thing Phil has, at least the way I'm interpreting it, and I'm biased because I'm an asshole, the only thing that Phil has is reactions. That's basically what it sounds like. Not even reads, reactions. If it's a complete and total guessing game, yeah, and you got some planning because you have an idea of what you're gonna do. You have to set a person up. You have to lull them to sleep. You know what I'm saying? Because you have to train them essentially to react to certain things and whatnot. And you only have 3 rounds to do it. By the way, well, you only have 2 rounds. You really only have 1 round to do it because you have 1 round to basically test your opponent out, and then round 2 is to execute, and round 3 is to finish them off if you didn't finish them off the first round. So Phil's telling me that if you're not going to have any planning, and if you're not going to have any forethought, and it's all just a guessing game and whatnot, he's telling me that all he relies on is reactions. If that's the case, then that explains why he's so bad. You can't be a competitive fighting game player and only rely on reactions, because eventually your reflexes are gonna end up dying out on you. It's just something that fundamentally is gonna happen. You can't do that forever. You really can't. And if you're gonna just keep grinding at the same game over and over again, you're not gonna get nowhere. That's why when you look at a lot of the great players back in the day, they played multiple fighting games. They didn't just play Street Fighter, they played multiple shit. Here, let's take one of my all-time favorite FGC players, IFC Yipes. IFC Yipes he's literally considered one of the gods of Marvel 2, right? But then he also played Street Fighter 4. He did it well. He played Street Fighter 5 pretty good. He's played a couple of different games. He dabbles in shit. You know what I'm saying? He never limited himself to just one thing. You know what I mean? He never did that. Justin Wong's another person. He has multiple championships over multiple games. It's ridiculous how many games he's won. Things that DSP couldn't even fathom. You know what I'm saying? Like look at Chris G. If you guys want another example, Chris G recently was flexing, and he has the right to do so. I think it was on Twitter. If I can find it, I'll try to put it in here. But if I can find it, but he was flexing and he showed all of the medals and everything that he won over the last 10 years of playing. That shit is nuts. That shit is nuts what he was able to pull off. You know what I mean? It's literally the who's who of shit. Like you're not messing with that. If I can find it, I will literally insert it right around this time period if I can find it. If I can't find it, then forgive me.
That's the real choice there by Chris G. Look at the lame stuff. No versatility in play. This is what I was saying earlier. Oh my God.
But and that's over multiple games. That's not just one game. And Chris G didn't do that off just reactions. Phil's literally admitting how limited he is as a person and as a player here. That's literally what he's showing me here. He's trying to downplay the game and say, oh, it's only guess heavy and that's it. There's nothing else that goes into it. But in actuality, he's exposing himself and his limitations. It's actually kind of sad. Womp womp.
Exactly what competitive gamblers do. Statistically, they know what's the hand to play, what's the move to make in this situation that I will have the highest chances of winning. They also know very well how to read their opponents, right? One of the biggest things about competitive poker, I know for a fact, is reading your opponents and knowing exactly what they're going to do in any given situation. So you know if they're bluffing, you know what they're doing, right? So the truth of the matter is, I don't feel that...
You must not play poker. Or you don't play it, you're not playing it nearly as much as you say you do. One of the reasons why I can tell you that is because, one, there are very few people who have just one tell. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't work like that. And it's kind of easy to call out a bluff, but even bluffs can be faked. So that's a thing too. On top of that, you have to look at your cards and then look at the people that are at the table with you. And you have to make some educated guesses. And you have to make some assumptions because you're taking a risk on what cards they have and what is your percentage that you can beat them. But more importantly than that, you're really not playing your hand when you're playing poker. You're playing the person across from you. You're literally playing their hand, and you're trying to make them guess what you're doing. If not, you're going to just rattle your brain on some dumb shit, especially if you've ever been in a high-stakes situation. And we all know Phil loves to gamble. Kinda. So, he should... Yeah, no. Don't talk about poker. Please don't talk about poker. I'm not the best poker player, but by far. I trust me, I've got plenty of limitations. I like blackjack personally. But I will get into a hand of poker if it's made available to me. But there's so much more meta into that. There's nothing very cut and dry about poker at all. Anyway, sorry.
Street Fighter 5 isn't competitive, and I certainly never said that. What I said is, if you're looking at it at a competitive skill level, take a game like... What you did with Street Fighter 5 is you made it something that's similar to, say, a competitive sport, and you turned it into competitive gambling, which is just competitive prediction, competitive guessing, and reading players, versus actual execution, actual gameplay patterns. It's just a guessing game.
Now, yet again, he just completely reconfirmed everything that I had said about he's all about reactions. But on top of that, it's funny how he shits on people online for playing in a flow pattern type way. LTG does that too a lot, especially when he's getting his ass handed to him. But Phil plays that way. He plays very reaction based and very flow chartish. The game has evolved since then. The game has evolved. If Capcom vs SNK 2 ever comes out online, Phil's gonna be fucked. Because people like that, who either play very flowchart heavy, which is situational, by the way, or play off of reactions, usually get eaten in games like CVS 2. You usually get eaten up pretty good like that. Because it's very easy to identify people like that. It's very easy to train people like that. It's very easy to put people in false situations where they believe they have advantages and they don't. It is very easy for a very good player, but for even just a good player, to lull somebody into a position where they think they have a better advantage than they really do. Yikes! I'm really glad that I got a chance to go over this. Yikes! Jesus Christ, Phil. I can see why people say John was better than you. I mean, not to say John was bad, because John was actually pretty good. But I can certainly see why now when you think about the mindset that goes into it.
you turned it from actual sport into gambling. And I don't like Street Fighter V because of that. I think that the game is shit. And
so because it turned it from let me try to cement this. So because the game has become more of a thinking man's game, or a thinking person's game, if you will, and not the physical aspect of it, the game's not good. Even though Phil's, and I say this in air quotes, physical prowess has diminished over the years. So he's literally losing on two fronts no matter what. This is like trying to take over, this is like trying to conquer Russia in the winter. This is literally what this is. God damn.
Don't find it entertaining whatsoever to play or watch, and I don't care about it. Good stuff, fair enough. I hope that answers your question, Last Rambo. PW Dubs tipped me $1. He says, would you recommend I join your Patreon? I'm interested in it, but you said that it'll be phased out soon. I never said that. What I said was, since I became a full-time streamer, and in particular, I'd say since early 2018, when really I started doing monthly sub goals, because I used to do Patreon goals, all right, every month. But people said to me, well, Phil, if you're becoming a full-time streamer, your focus should be on the stream, so you should migrate all of your stuff to your streams instead. So I did, and for the past 2 years, it's been all based on the stream stuff rather than based on Patreon stuff, okay? So when I did that, I basically made it that every month now we have these sub goals on stream, and Patreon still exists, and people who pledge to my Patreon still get perks every month. You know, they still get premium forum access. They still sometimes get advanced or, better access to voting events. They can get a private Q&A session, or they can get their questions answered on Ask the King. Like, they still get all those perks. But, in general, what I've seen is that since I have turned my focus primarily to my streams, that most people who want to support me come to the streams and directly support me on a stream. So, for example, they'll come and cheer and sub or tip during the stream so they can get that live shout-out versus, oh, I'm going to pledge to his Patreon, right? Now, not to say that there aren't people who pledge to my Patreon or that I'm not grateful. There are still a large amount of people who still pledge to my Patreon, and that's consistent support that I get every single month that helps me out, okay?
Despite the fact that he never shouts any of those people out. And before any of the fanboys say, oh, well, he can't because he doesn't have any editing software. Actually, he does. He has free editing software on his PC. That's been proven. But on top of that, he could literally take the names of his Patreons because he knows them, right? And their aliases. And he could put that into OBS. And he could just have he could have a crawl for that. And do that like at the end of the week or whatever, at the end of the month and whatnot. You know, shout out to everybody who supports me on Patreon. He could do that. It's a shame that these people can give him $400 a month and they're not even worth that. Yikes.
I'm not phasing it out, and it still exists for those who like to support me via that method. It's not going anywhere, all right? All I've been saying is I've noticed that, yes, in the last 2 years, since I became a full-time streamer, that things have changed, and most people will come and support me on the streams rather than on Patreon, okay? A lot of people directly said, I'm not going to do Patreon anymore, but I'm going to come to your streams and support you instead, and I appreciate that. So, that's the deal. If you're interested in supporting me via a Patreon pledge, you can still do so. It's still greatly appreciated. You'll still get your perks, okay? Excuse me.
So we can give them worthless perks, but we can't shout them out at the end of a video at the end of the month. We really can't do that. Bullshit.
But, I mean, being very matter of fact, yeah, a lot of people have chosen not to do that anymore and instead to come to the streams live instead. So, it's your call. Whatever you'd like to do, PW Dubs. I appreciate, no matter what you do, I appreciate the support in whatever way that you lend it, okay? PW Dubs to me $1 says, do you think stress can cause weight gain? You know, stress has a lot of negative effects on the body, just being honest. Stress can cause you to not do things that normally would be healthy for you. Like, stress could cause you to lose sleep. And if you lose sleep, your body can't recuperate properly, and therefore you're going to be unhealthy. You're going to feel awful. It's not going to operate properly. Stress can cause you to do things like stress eat or, drink, substance abuse. Like, stress can cause a lot of stuff. I've been, many times in my life I found myself in stressful situations that I know have negatively affected me, Does stress actually cause straight up weight gain?
Yes. Well, Yes, it can. Because it would cause, because, for example, if he, like I said, if you're stressed out, you decide to go to food for comfort, you're going to gain weight. If you go to drinking, most people tend to drink a shitload and then want to eat. And there you go. So that's it. It depends on how the person decides to go about it. But yeah, I assume it can do that. That, and isn't stress though also linked to certain type of chemical imbalances in the body, so on and so forth, especially in women, for example. Yeah, stress can screw you over in a bunch of different ways. I mean, shit, that puts unnecessary stress on the heart as well as other organs. People die of stress all the time, especially in Japan, sadly. You know what I mean? You have people who are out there, businessmen and women, who work just ridiculous hours day in, day out, and then they just drop dead at their desk. You know what I mean? There's stories that you can readily find where it also happens a lot in gaming cafes, but very pronounced in gaming cafes. Not to laugh about that because it's not funny, but you'll like a business, like somebody who's working at their desk or whatnot, and they've been grinding out over the last like 3 or 4 days, and they'll look like they're merely just laying down sleeping, and people will come into the office the next day and still see that he's sleeping, and they're like, well, all right, well, maybe he's just working a longer shift. Then after a little while, people start to realize, well, maybe we should wake him up to see if he's all right, or maybe we should send him home. Come to find out, he died of either a brain aneurysm or a headache or a heart attack. Sorry, it happens. So, but why are we asking Phil this? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, Phil could, at any given time, I would guess, could have a heart attack on stream. And the way he does that clown mode shit a lot, I don't think people are really going to know unless you have a real keen eagle eye out for that shit. And even then, to be honest, because I've been kind of thinking about this, or I've been pondering it at least for the last little while. Remember how Phil says that, okay, let me stay with the original scenario. He goes in the clown mode, because of the way he does his little clown mode shit, if he had a heart attack on stream, it would probably be, I don't think help would get to him in time. Because, for the main reason I should say, is because remember when he said, when they ended up moving out there to Washington, that they contacted the local police for swatting and yada 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 yada, even though he got hit with that wellness check a couple years ago. It wasn't swatting, it was a wellness check. My frame of thought is that if he was to have a heart attack on stream, for example, or if he was to have a stroke or whatever, what would, even though law enforcement would have to take it as a very serious situation, what if that one person ends up looking at the notation and being like, oh, well, he's known for this or whatever, okay, we'll dispatch someone, but maybe they don't do it with the type of urgency they should. You know what I'm saying? Or what if they got caught in that off night where all hands are on deck, but yet everybody's dealing with something? You know, there's a fire here, there's this here, there's a robbery here. You know what I'm saying? Like, Phil could be screwed. And Phil doesn't think about that. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to downplay Washington PD or their EMTs or anything like that, but I'm just saying. You know what I mean? I'm just saying. There are plenty of horror stories out there with people who had to wait 30, 40 minutes for an ambulance, which is ridiculous or redunculous, but it happens. There are plenty of stories out there with people saying they called the police and the cops didn't show up for a half hour. Just throwing that out there. And then with him alerting the police that, oh, these people, they harass me and do this, that, and the third. If someone who wasn't Phil Burnell tried to call emergency services, I mean, if whoever the dispatcher is took what's said in his file rather seriously about trolling or whatnot, he or she may not want to waste the resource, at least right away, when someone else who could really need it or who could really use it should be diverted over to get it. Just it's keep in mind, this is all a hypothetical scenario, and I don't wish this upon him, but I would like to throw that out there just for a frame of thought.
Does it cause straight up weight gain? I don't know. I'm not a medical expert. I don't think so. For me, at least in my personal experience, I think that would be a cop-out, because how is stress causing weight gain, right? Like, I would say, no, the stress is causing the eating that's causing the weight gain. I wouldn't say stress is causing the weight gain as a direct cause and effect, okay? But it can indirectly cause it via making you want to eat more, all right? But I would not say stress makes you gain more weight naturally. No, that sounds kind of silly to me. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not a medical expert. From my experience, if I'm stressed out and I'm eating more and I gain weight, that's my fault, and I blame myself for letting myself succumb to the stress, rather than saying that weight will just allow you to gain more weight. I think that's silly, okay? But maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. Okay.
Alice Tillman cheered again and said, Dr. Phil, I am not a doctor. As I said many times, I don't know anything about this, the medical side of this stuff. I can just tell you from my personal experiences, okay?
And, ladies and gentlemen, last night, Tomahawk MCX, in a flurry of support, gifted a whopping 21 subscriptions.
Some people are just sheep, and you can't help them.
Here we go. Third the third just cheered saying that Drunken Peasants did a podcast about me talking shit. No shit. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a reason why I was not on the Drunken Peasants podcast last week.
Now, I'm kind of... I've been compiling some stuff. If you guys follow me on Twitter, don't follow me on Twitter, by the way. Like I said, I just do a whole lot of shit posting. It's going to be a waste of your time, I promise you. But I've been kind of compiling tweets and stuff from Twitter. A couple of people that I follow on Twitter. And Kiwi Farms, I'm thinking about doing a video on it. We'll see. I want to reach out to somebody who's part of our team here at GTG Network and Productions and get some of his thoughts on it and see what he thinks. But I kind of want to do it. But the thing is as I said on Twitter, no good deed goes unpunished. But certainly, it looked like it was just a race to the bottom between those two, between the Drunken Peasants and DSP. It looked like it was just a race to the bottom. And when you look at some of the motivations going on in that email exchange, it makes both of them, it makes all parties involved look bad. They really do. But like I said, just something to look forward to, maybe.
Year. Very frankly, they wanted me on their podcast pretty badly. They kept asking me to be on over the course of about a month. I told them I was interested, but I wasn't 100% sure if I wanted to do it. For various reasons, after doing a little bit more research and talking a little bit about it publicly with you guys on the streams, I found out that basically this podcast is a drama podcast. This is a podcast where literally all they really do is talk about negative stuff.
Now, keep in mind, just about every podcast is drama related in some way, so whatever. But he wanted to, he didn't want to do the Drunken Peasant podcast for many reasons, but mainly because he couldn't regulate their chat on YouTube. But yet he decides to do an interview with the Quartering. What? And only for the Quartering to end up shitting, or Quarter Pounder, to end up shitting on him later when he's, I think, another detractor had tweeted out a screenshot of the Ludwig World Order video, the music video and shit with Catherine in it. Good shit, by the way. And a screenshot of that got tweeted, and Quarter Pounder sat there and liked it and retweeted it. So you keep, and when I mean you, I mean DSP. He keeps bigging up Quarter Pounder, and Quarter Pounder's been shitting on him behind the scenes, probably. More than likely, because Quarter Pounder don't have no loyalty to nobody. So that's just kind of what his nature is, at least from what I've seen. And he's like Phil. He's tried to deplatform other people too. It's funny how people seem to forget that. That's very, very strange on how people seem to forget how he pulled that. How he tried to pull that shit on Medicare, on Sargon's behalf. Well, on his behalf too, and probably Monday Matt. I'm kidding about the Monday Matt part. So it's real interesting how people forget about that and how that got lost in the shuffle. But we'll touch on that another time.
They'll bring up a news story and make fun of the person in the news story, or bring up a streamer or content creator or someone in the news and make fun of them. Basically, it's one of those kind of shows. Now, they claimed that they wanted to play Super Turbo with me. I said, I really don't understand why they would want to play Super Turbo with me. How much do they even know about Super Turbo, right? Yeah, randomly guys out of nowhere want to play Super Turbo with me who just happen to live near Seattle or whatever. So, I was interested in it, and by the way, this was happening...
They live 20 minutes away, by the way. They live in Bill, or Ben, anyway, who's the head of the podcast. This is publicly known, too, so I'm not trying to put him out there or nothing. But he lives out there in, like, Bellevue. You know what I'm saying? Phil's literally like 20 minutes away. Literally 20 minutes. But he told Ben in the email exchange, oh, that would be a bit of a trek for me, man. That'd be pretty difficult, man. Fuck out of here.
Right before I got married last year.
I mean, you're absolutely right. I did lie about the wedding.
I mean, I'll be very honest. The wedding was a thing that Kat and I wanted to do, but we were in no hurry to do. But once my parents said, listen, you should come out here and spend time with us because we both have medical issues or whatever, we were like, maybe now's the time. Maybe even now, we were talking about it, this isn't the time because we might not get the chance. You know what I mean? Again, next time maybe when one of my parents passed away, it would be terrible. Right? We have the chance to do it now, let's just do it. So we did, you know?
What a scumbag, using his parents' health and potential deaths as a reason to get married. So it's not like we had two people here, ladies and gentlemen, who loved each other, and that's why they got married. They only got married because Phil didn't want his parents to die yet without paying for it. Holy shit. A fucking scumbag. On top of that, if I remember correctly, in those emails, Phil had put in a clause, or he wanted a terms, if you will, that they couldn't bring up anything about Catherine, I think, or no questions about her. It's funny, though. Lovely wife, soulmate, his angel. She can't be brought up at all. And confirmed that everything that detractors had said about her and her family and her past was all basically true. He confirmed all that, too.
We were pressured a little bit to do it. Oh, here we go. I'm Hot Dog, the asshole who insulted me earlier, and now he's trolling me, saying I had a forced wedding or something. What the fuck are you talking about? A forced wedding?
It's a shotgun wedding. I mean, it's not really a shotgun wedding because it wasn't like Catherine was pregnant at that time. But I understand where he was going with that.
What does that even mean?
Okay, so remember, I was planning out my trip to Connecticut to visit my parents, and I was going to get married, and I knew that there was going to be a lot of drama around me getting married and everything. I already knew that. And they really wanted to have me on before I had gone on my trip. I talked with them back and forth about it, and the final determination was that I was not going to do it. And the reason I told them I wasn't going to do it was because they stream on YouTube. And I heard a lot of bad things about them streaming on YouTube and basically their audience being uncontrollable and saying a lot of nasty stuff in the comments of their podcasts and the like.
Dark side filled the lol cow.
And I said, in reality, I don't care what people say about me. Okay, but what if someone starts coming on your podcast, which apparently you have little to no moderation in the stream chat, and starts saying
freedom
stuff
of speech
about my wife, starts bringing up things about horrible things about her past and messed up stuff. I don't want her getting doxxed on someone else's fucking podcast.
Now, first things first, idiot. He confirms it right here too that everything we know about her is true. On top of that, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about Ben for a minute, who is the head of. Well, there's only two of them, but him and Billy the Fridge. Ben, he watches Phil. He watches Phil streams. Actually, the whole reason why this whole shit kicked off is because Ben was watching Phil stream, and Phil decided to name drop the drunken peasants on why he didn't do the podcast, and he said something that was probably a lie, and Ben called him out for it, and then Ben got banned. So that's how all this started. So with my point of all that is Ben knows all that information. You don't think Ben don't sit here and fuck around in some of these detractor chats? You don't think he's probably not in one or a few of these detractor discords under a different name? I'm not saying that he's pulling gay ops. I'm just saying he gets around. I'm sure he's confident he knows some of this shit. I'm sure he's seen the links on Twitter to Kiwi Farms and some of the threads there. He knows all this. Ben knows all this. This isn't some big revelation. He knows all this. And you and Catherine got married. So we already know where you are. We already know your full name. We know what her full name is now. And we know where you guys live. She's already been doxxed. Just throwing it out there.
So, essentially, I eventually told him, no, I'm not going to be on the show anymore. Okay? And that's really, that was the end of it.
And that's really the most disgusting thing, was one of the most disgusting things out of this whole situation. And in the emails, it's way more egregious. How he threw Catherine up. He used Catherine as his scapegoat to not have to talk to these people. That's basically what he did. He threw every excuse in the book at Ben on why he shouldn't go, why it would be dangerous if Phil went over there on their podcast because bad things could happen to them, and yada yada yada. And Ben didn't care because Ben had ulterior motives too. And to make a long story incredibly short, Phil threw out the cat excuse and rode that shit off, and then finally just was like, I'm not going. That's essentially, I mean, there's way more funny stuff to that, but that's basically the cut and dry of it. He literally used Catherine as a scapegoat to get him out of that podcast. Just like how he used his excuse of being sick to get himself out of that Wings of Redemption podcast a couple of years ago. Just saying.
Now, apparently they came into the stream chat like a day or two ago and were talking shit about me. Oh, Phil didn't come on our show because he's a coward and he lets his haters dictate everything he does. Yes! Yes!
I mean, that's true. Like, that's true. Like, if you really look, if you want a really good example of that, watch a Tevin stream and watch what Tevin says and how Phil reacts to it damn near in real time. If Phil is not listening to Tevin's stream, I would be fucking shocked. But I'm pretty confident that's what he does. And how Phil reacts to what Tevin says about certain things in real time, or if not, even just the next day, it'll make you think. It'll really, really make you think.
Like, no, actually, I didn't go on your show because your show is a bunch of drama queens, and all you do is stir up shit and talk shit about people. And it looked like you were going to allow that in the comments of your show. And I decided,
but isn't, by that argument, isn't it fair to say that's no different than what he does against Wings? He talks shit about multiple people. Phil does. DSP, Darkside Phil, Dark Geppetto. He goes ahead and talks mad shit about multiple people, and there are times where he lets people come into his stream chat and talk shit about those people too, and Phil will laugh that shit up. So what's the difference? Oh, this is more direct. Oh, okay. And instead of, doesn't Phil always say that he wants to have an opportunity to defend himself or for people to hear his side? These people are giving you a platform to do so. It may not be as strong of a platform as it could have been a couple years ago. You know what I'm saying? Because apparently the drunken peasants were something back in the day. It's not as strong as it was then, but it's still a platform. And Phil needs all the help he can get. And yet he's still finding reasons not to go.
not to do it. Instead, I did an interview with the Quartering, who did an offline interview with me. There were no comments to hinder our discussion. The discussion went out.
What do you mean hinder your discussion? So, I haven't done that yet because the shit's so goddamn boring. It's such a, there's so little in there worthwhile. But I still might go over it. So Phil, basically, now one, I don't know if this is true or not, so I'm going to say alleged. Allegedly, Quarter Pounder ended up having to pay for that interview, because why wouldn't he? Because everybody else who ever had to do it wanted an interview with Phil, had to pay the price, essentially. At least up to a certain point in Phil's lore. So why wouldn't Quartering have to pay for that? Two, you go on there and get all these weird softball, weird-ass questions that didn't go anywhere. That was a waste of both of your fucking times, to be honest. Three, realistically, that video didn't make crazy views, so I felt like Quarterling wasted his time. Quarter Pounder definitely wasted his time on that, to be honest. And he still didn't really advertise you properly like he was supposed to. And more importantly, I feel like the Quartering only did that to try to ingratiate himself into the detractor community. The same community that he watches. He admits that he watches detractor content, and he finds it very entertaining. And if you think about it, from a clout standpoint, the Quartering got what he wanted, because he was able to get the interview that no one else was able to get. And if that doesn't burn Ben's bacon, I don't know what does. Because I think Ben was going for the exact same thing.
As is, and ended up being a very positive light for me in 2019, which was the whole point of me doing it.
But not only that, so not only did it's allegedly DSP might have been paid for that interview. Keyword is alleged, so please keep that in mind. But then you had Phil probably had all of these different terms that he needed to be satisfied, and it had to be offline. So Jeremy couldn't stream it because Phil was afraid that the detractors were going to get in there and ask Jeremy to ask him the hard questions, and he didn't want to answer them. And he's mad because Ben from Drunken Peasants came in there and called him a coward, and he lets people dictate his life. When that's exactly what happened. You chose to be a sucker. And Quarter Pounder did what a fat kid's supposed to do. He got past the free dessert and he ate it. You made it so easy for him, even though he may have not have gotten the profitability off the video that he wanted, he still got what he wanted in some way, shape, or form. Literally, Quarter Pounder treated him like a fat kid loved cake. And just went at it. And Phil thinks that he won. Or he thinks that it worked out for him. But where's the results? Where are all these new people out there on Twitter from the Quarter Pounders fan base looking at Darkside Phil and trying to defend him on Twitter? When anybody defends any Phil on Twitter, or DSP or Darkside Phil, it's the same old people. Nobody new has come in and contributed anything. But it was such a positive interview because he could dictate to Quarter Pounder what he wanted. Yikes.
You know, so basically wrong. You know, they could say whatever they want, but they're wrong, and they're just making shit up because they want, again, to stir up more drama. That's what they do. That's how they get their popularity on YouTube. So it is what it is. I don't care what they said. I don't care if they sat there for 4 hours doing a garbage podcast about me, because they're just number 1 million of the people who've done that. Been there, done that, right? You know, a bunch of fucking hacks. And it is what it is. I don't give a shit about them. I will never be on their show. Especially now, you know, it's like, okay, Phil decided not to be on our show. Maybe we'll be nice to him and talk to him more and try to convince him. No, just let's talk shit about him. Okay, well, fuck you. You proved what kind of a...
Maybe we'll be nice to him and try to convince him to come back on. So he's still... Excuse me. So he still wanted the Drunken Peasants to paint him in a positive light while keeping them at bay and stroking his ego to have them come on their show, knowing damn well he was probably never going to go up there unless he ended up getting the terms that he wanted. And I would assume that there was supposed to be a financial payoff in that too. And I don't know how Ben felt about that, if anything. Yikes.
Person you are, and I'll never deal with you, right? Pretty matter of fact, that the situation. So that's done. And I don't care about it anymore. In fact, I haven't had any contact with them since literally since April of last year. And then all of a sudden they decided to join my stream chat yesterday or the day before, talk shit, and got banned. And now, of course, they're going to talk about me on their podcast because they're bored. There's nothing going on. You know, let's do some shit talking, because that's what we do when we have no talent. So, all right. Congratulations, morons.
Now, keep in mind, the reason why I say no good deed goes unpunished is because, allegedly, the reason why Ben wanted to do a podcast with Darkside Phil is because he wanted to show that Phil wasn't a fucking lol cow, which was stupid mistake number 1. That was dumb mistake number 1. To try to paint Phil in a positive light? You think you got this many people out here at your neck? You think there are this many lions, tigers, bears, wolves, and everything else at his bacon for no reason? Is that really what you thought, Ben? Or did it actually, or was it what people are starting to slowly but surely think it was? That it was an opportunity to create buzz for the Drunken Peasants, because Ben has been trying very hard since the breakup of the original group. I don't know shit about that. That's the reason why I have to talk to somebody else to get that bit of lore, to basically try to rebuild the Drunken Peasants and put them back in at least a better position than they're in. And somehow or another, he thought using the infamy of Darkside Phil was going to do so. I guess he thought if he could bring in the detractor dollar and the cuck dollar of DSP's fan base, that he was going to make this financial incentive for everybody, for all parties involved, while also raising viewership. Now, this is all just suspected. This is all speculated. There's no proof of any of this. But when you start to look at some of those emails, you start to look deep into them, it starts to look like it was more than just trying to help Darkside Phil out. Because it doesn't look like anybody was going to do anything for free. Just because you guys are in the same fucking state, don't mean that Seattle air don't affect everybody in different ways. And if the Seattle air was able to mutate Phil and allow him to create, or to not even create, to grow additional muscles around his baby backs so he could straighten his back and heal his back up, then who knows what it did to the peasants. Something to think about, though. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, no good deed goes unpunished, but maybe it wasn't that good of a deed in the first place. Maybe the motivations weren't actually there. Maybe.
I don't have items to get rid of toxic, so I can't cure toxic. Oh my god, I'm toxic. I'm fucked. I'm dead. Phil has indoctrinated children who send him money, blatantly milking for money. It's a money pit. It's gone, just gone like that, in an instant, fucking gone. I just care about money. I just can't help it. I eBay. Contributions are mandatory, but I need your help.
Okay, let's just go ahead and end it right there. Seeing him beg is, I think, is a good way of finishing that off. All right, let me clean up, and I'll see you guys in just a second. Alright guys, okay, so what do we think about this in closing? Let's see here. Thank you very much to Burnell for the greatness of all this. So the $340 is almost nothing. Congratulations, people at Paymetons, you got shitted on. You guys couldn't have donated to a better person. I don't care about my legacy. Everybody already called that. He was just using it as a platform for as long as he could to show that I've been around for a long time. That has value, because everything he's done is garbage. You don't believe me? Look at those retrospective streams that he does or he's planning on doing. He can't even find entertaining shit within the stuff that he's done over the decade. That's not a good sign. That's not a good sign that you've been doing this shit for over 10 years. You have almost 100,000 videos online combined of just your own shit over multiple channels, and you can't find nothing creative or nothing interesting or entertaining at all. And the only thing that he has a response to is laughing at his supposed pudgy self or reminiscing about John. Yikes. Absolutely fucking yikes. And then lying about his YouTube earnings. Are any of us surprised? So I can see why his father would be ashamed of him, because I'm ashamed of him and his father. If it's true that his dad knew what kind of money he was making and didn't go out of his way to make sure that his son didn't try to secure his own future. Like I said, Phil's been boyfriend of the year a couple times. I can see Phil's father being father of the year a few times as well. Anyway, then money decides everything. We already know that. Guest Fighter 5, I've already talked about that and whatnot at length. Since he can only depend on reaction gameplay and basically pattern gameplay, because he is a creature of habit, it shows how limited he is. That definitely proves that he wasn't as good as he said he was. And that also shows, and I think reinforces, why people who used to play back in the day when he did have gone on to do better things. Not just in the FGC, but in life. because they didn't limit themselves to bare minimum bullshit. They were able to expand off what they had and were able to basically obtain more because they had the mindset to do so. That's why I keep running from Evil AJ, because Evil AJ is just outright smarter than he is. Let's see here. And and money in Patreon is significant, even though he just shitted on it in the first video. So there you go on that one. And debunking the drunken peasants. The drunken peasants thing is over at this point, at least as far as I know. But it's a bit of a rabbit hole that I still think is worth looking into. So like I said, I got to reach out to a couple of people. I like to get some opinions on some stuff, and then consider that a work in progress for me. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening in. I very much appreciate it. I'll see you guys for the next broadcast, whenever that may be. Hopefully sooner than later. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Snort Report, and this is DSP News. Always late, never breaking. Unreliable coverage that you can't count on. A GTG Networking Productions. For SnortBucks Coffee, as well as DSP News in general, I am your host, /anchor, GTG, and I'm signing off. Take care of yourselves, guys. I'll see you guys for... Oh, don't forget about the first quarter meeting, by the way. So, the company meeting and whatnot. And all you guys are investors, so look forward to that. And I'll see you guys when I see you. Later.
She's showing up at my door. Just when I think you're gone, she's showing up at my door. And I think the stars above, that sometimes the empty changes in these tears.